Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod, here to talk about everything that happened on week 7 of Big Brother 26. Last week, T-Core's HOH ended with Angela, Tucker, and Mackenzie on the block, MJ beat Tucker in the AI arena, and the house chose to send Tucker back to Ziggy. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description to my playlist where you can catch up on my previous recaps and rankings. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing, but let's dive into it. We pick back up where we left off, where multiple house guests are devastated by Tucker's eviction. But nobody is happier than Chelsea, who was thrilled to see Mackenzie win the arena, giving her plan to flip the votes the potential to take off. In a flashback, they show the last minute scramble and what happened in the bedroom before the vote, where they all just agreed to vote for whoever's best for their games. While the vibes are off, nobody warns Tucker's pals that he's going home, and he's evicted by a vote of 5-3. Chelsea says she went from the bottom to the top, and you know what? She did. Tucker's funeral services begin with Chemo crying, Angela comedically pretending to cry to Chemo, and Tucker's showmance Rubina especially destroyed by this and admitting that she loves Tucker, with a flashback to Tubina having a public kiss the night before, which was way too much on the live feeds and terrible gameplay on both parts. Cam was part of the flip on Tucker and he breaks down feeling guilty about it, but Quinn is feeling himself, dancing in the bathroom and screaming in the diary room that he voted Tucker out in his girlfriend's skirt no less. Leah and Mackenzie celebrate being part of the big move, and Mackenzie deems herself the new compiste in the house, being in a power position that she hopes can help her game. T-Core and Chemo, who were once riding high, are now suddenly finding themselves at the bottom and are gonna work together to try to survive. They head out to the barnyard for their HOH competition, which is the classic chicken wire egg competition. Of course, Ainsley has to be brought into this with her dumb questions, asking them what came first, the HOH or the egg. They have to maneuver their eggs around the chicken wire using their fingers, roll them down the ramp, and knock down HOH letters. The first person to complete this wins HOH, and the first 3 to drop their eggs will be have-nots. They get started with Quinn quickly dropping and becoming a have-not. Angela decides to comically sit there doing nothing until the have-nots are decided, which is funny because she worked so hard in her punishment last week to get to play here, but if she didn't finish her punishment, she probably would have been a have-not. Chemo and Mackenzie become have-nots, which gets Angela into the game. The competition ends up being super close, coming down to Chemo, Leah, Mackenzie, and Quinn, all with 2 letters down, but Quinn wins the competition, celebrating obnoxiously, twerking in multiple positions. Strategizing for nomination starts. Angela and Rubina appear as easy nominations for Quinn because Angela's been Quinn's rival, and he's nominated Rubina before. Quinn commits to protecting the people that he worked with in the last vote, Chelsea, Leah, Mackenzie, and Cam. He meets with Joseph, who he has a good relationship with and still wants to work with, and strategizes with T-Core to find the 3rd nominee, bringing up Chemo, which shocks T-Core because they're in the Visionaries Alliance together. Chemo then comes to Quinn, saying that he wasn't ever turning on Quinn, which obviously isn't true because the 6th Avenue Alliance was clearly his priority last week. T-Core is annoyed with Quinn and says if Quinn nominates her friends, she's gonna come for him. Later, Chemo meets back up with Quinn and tries to convince him to nominate Mackenzie instead of him. At the nomination ceremony, Quinn nominates Chemo, Rubina, and Angela and publicly encourages the house to get Angela out, who Quinn tells us is a threat to his game because he could see himself nominated against Angela and going home, but he royally pisses off T-Core in the process by nominating her friends. Moving on to Wednesday's veto episode, where following the nomination ceremony, Angela reflects.
In his speech, Quinn said, I called him a narcissist, a liar, and an idiot, and, I did.
Quinn is happy with his nominations, but is backed into a corner because he has agreements with everyone who's off the block, and having to name a renom would put him in a bad spot. While T-Core was protecting Chelsea last week, Chelsea says she wants to see T-Core on the block so she can get a little fright. T-Core has lost trust in Quinn for nominating her friends, and wouldn't be surprised if he put her up too. Joseph admits to us that he has a crush on Leah. Leah lays it on thick for Joseph, but tells us she likes him only as a friend, as the music goes from steamy to bikini bottom. Angela apologizes to Quinn for calling him names and tells him she doesn't call people names. Cue the easy montage of Angela calling Matt crazy eyes, calling Lisa a twit. Quinn tells Angela he was just joking and doesn't really care. The show only shows this apology to get the crazy eyes clip onto yet another episode. Joseph gets a long, foolish montage of him bragging about his game, telling Chelsea that he would have gone to Final 2 with Tucker because he's so confident he would have won. He tells Chelsea, who's running the game, that they're playing similar games, which royally offends her. He even compares himself to Dr. Will, which leads Chelsea to call him delusional. Leah and Angela talk. Leah feels like she has no alliances, and they both agree that they like each other and feel alone in the game. Angela tells us she feels protected by Leah and really appreciates her. Soon after, they pick players for the veto competition, where Angela gets houseguest choice and chooses Joseph, avoiding putting Leah in a bad place, and Joseph's probably not gonna win, or he's gonna throw it. Either way, good pick for Angela. Leah gets her chip picked anyway. Quinn reassures Joseph that he's safe and not the target, and Joey is feeling himself like he's in the tent again.
I'm a badass.
They head to the factory for the veto comp, where they're all in jumpsuits and bandanas. Joseph is annoyingly not wearing a bandana, my favorite color green, and the emotion disgust not being represented properly, I fear. Leah looks great in yellow, but more on that later. They're in the bot building factory, and of course, Messy Ainsley comes out as an insurrectionist.
I need your help to create a bot to help me take down the government. I mean, take down the curtains.
The curtains? What is this chick on for real, and where could I get some? They'll study a robot, then go in their individual darkroom and find the pieces that match the robot's 11 parts and reassemble it in the dark. The first player to complete this wins the POV. The rest of the house guests get to watch from inside. You know Felicia would have been there with a bucket of popcorn. They get started. Quinn is basically guessing, and Joseph is blatantly and admittedly doing nothing and throwing the competition. Angela puts the wrong leg on her robot and tells us she has no idea how it got there, so the editors royally dunk on her, showing 8 seconds earlier on the cryon. Quinn decides to basically not study and guess. He's a mess. He flings one of his needed pieces across the room, dooming his chances. Miss Leah really eats this. She knew exactly what to do, and she ends up winning the veto and her first competition. Immediately after winning, Leah tells us that she's planning to make big moves and doesn't care if it ruffles feathers. Angela tells us she's not planning to ask Leah to use the veto on her to avoid putting Leah in a bad place. In the HOH room, Quinn and Leah celebrate with silly dancing. He's so turned on by her win.
You're sick nasty, you're incredible, you looked really cool in yellow, you're really funny. The word sensational just comes to mind.
Cringe. Quinn tells Leah that he wants Angela out, but Leah is signaling to Quinn that she may still save Angela. In the backyard, Angela campaigns to Joseph, saying that he can use her as a number and influence Quinn to keep her around. Joseph tells Angela about herself, telling her she has a pattern of bad behavior and that he's amazed that she's still in the game. Angela is rightfully offended. Not shown in this episode is Angela crying to Leah on the feeds about this, which I feel like was a really important part of the story. Back in HOH, Leah tells Quinn that she would prefer Angela to be there because Angela would be a jury vote for Leah and an ally that she doesn't have a lot of. Quinn tells Leah that if she uses the veto that he would have to nominate Joseph, but he begs her not to use it. At the veto meeting, Leah uses the veto on a teary Angela, saved again with a veto that she didn't win, in the same shirt dress no less. Quinn nominates Joseph in her place with reasoning that he's the only person available who voted to keep Tucker in the house last week. In diaries, Joseph vows revenge on Quinn, and Angela eats Joseph up.
If you don't win in that AI arena, I'd be surprised if you're still here.
Moving on to the Thursday eviction, where Julie is dressed in thrift store couture. This one might be one of the worst outfits of all season. Firstly, an orange and red blazer, maybe with a black or brown gaucho. I could see this working, but she's wearing blue jeans that are way too long and even frayed at the bottom to reveal her little piggies. If your jeans are touching the floor in heels, you might need a hem, girl. Miss Jeans sends it back to the house where Joseph just replaced Angela on the block, and Angela vows her undying loyalty to Leah for saving her. Joseph and Quinn meet, and Quinn agrees to help Joseph. Quinn thinks that Joseph will vote for him to win in the jury and doesn't feel so sure about that for Chemo. T-Core starts rallying votes to save her friends. She thinks she has Angela because Joseph made her cry, and oh, now conveniently Joseph is apologizing to Angela for hurting her feelings now that he's on the block, which she finds hilarious. Quinn campaigns to Chelsea, Cam, and Mackenzie to keep Joseph around. Cam and Mackenzie are down, but Chelsea's annoyed with Joseph and personally would want him gone. There's a whole segment of Leah, Joseph, and Quinn in the HOH where she's spinning them around in circles mentally. She's openly playing both of them, and the segment leads up to Leah doing Challenger's sunglasses pose in the diary room. And when I say firstly, it was insane that the show did this, and also the show should credit whoever they stole this joke from on Twitter. Twitter users, speak up. I don't know who you are. I saw your tweet. On the Jared Fields Blue Kim Lysol wipe balcony, Mackenzie scratches Cam's head and gets the face crack of the century from Chelsea. Then they're cuddling in bed, and Chelsea gets annoyed and leaves the room. Chelsea has a crush on Cam, and T-Core says she's going to use Chelsea being upset with her allies to bring her in closer and get her vote to evict Joseph. T-Core tells Chelsea that her priority is Chelsea and Rabina over Chemo, which really seems to get Chelsea on board. Which leads us to the here and now. We head to the AI arena where Rubina looks like a fairy princess superhero, and just looking at the challenge apparatus, it was clear that Rubina had the potential to kick these boys' asses. They'll be attached to a cable and need to untangle it by climbing around the monkey bars, getting enough slack to reach the button and save themselves. They get started, and Joseph is fumbling, getting all his limbs tangled up in his cable. Chemo is moving slower. There just needed to be a camera on Rubina this whole time because she's whipping through this. Rubina ends up winning. She truly ate, and her celebration is cute. Chemo didn't seem that far behind. Julie announces to the house that Rubina is the winner, and she's so excited to have won something. Instantly, everyone files into the bedroom, including the nominees, which is very awkward, and we don't get to see any of the last-minute strategizing, if there was any. During the speeches, Angela is especially upset. Leah and Mackenzie are crying. Joseph's speech is standard, and Chemo says he wants to make jury to be representation for his communities. We get to the votes. Votes to evict Chemo are Cam, Leah, and Angela, and votes to evict Joseph are Mackenzie, T-Core, Rubina, and Chelsea. So by a vote of 4-3, Joseph is evicted, becoming the last pre-juror and breaking the Ainsley curse, and Cam, Leah, and Angela were shut out of the vote. In the interview, it's kind of tense between Joseph and Julie. These two are not vibing, even putting Julie on her B game. Joseph says he's shocked that Mackenzie voted him out and felt like they had a good relationship, and calls Chemo, who has multiple allies, a lone wolf. So we have to say goodbye to Joseph here, who in preseason was my winner pick. His preseason interviews were such a great presentation, but now in hindsight, he was molding himself after the greats even in his interviews. He knew how he wanted to be perceived, and he starts the game strong, getting into the collective, then reforming the collective 2.0 after Angela's HOH. And I had him ranked number 1 again when he was in a middle position following the Cedric blindside. He really could have rode that middle position, but the second I rated him number 1, maybe he sensed he was in the number 1 spot because he got so full of himself, bragging about how great his game is and how he'd beat everyone in the final 2, which he wouldn't. So we learn that he's far from self-aware and he's quite delulu most of the time. And in the end, that costs him, with him losing his final 2 and then getting evicted on his friend's HOH with his other friend's veto. After 7 weeks, I can't confidently say that I have an idea of what Joseph really is like as a person, but there was potential there as a player. He should have spent less time jerking it and more time working it. I don't think we'll ever see him again on any show. I think I've seen enough, but if we do, I hope it's without the mustache. Variety is the spice of life. Following Joseph's eviction, Ainsley chimes into the house and announces that they made it to the jury and that the big game-changing twist is that from now on, there's no more AI arena. There are going to be 2 nominees and a veto and then an eviction. So the big twist is we're back to normal. With that, we also have to say goodbye to the AI arena, which was a whole lot of fun and made every Thursday night an unpredictable event. I hope this somehow becomes the format for every season, at least for the next few. Just call it a different name. I don't care. Let's just throw it again, you bunch of bastards. I am excited for them to go back to 2 nominations now, though, because while the arena is fun, it kind of makes it hard for them to talk game throughout the week, knowing that their target could end up being safe. But that's all I have to say about this week's episodes. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I'll be back later tonight with my updated week 7 player rankings. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next Thursday for week 8 of Big Brother. Until next time, have a nice weekend. Bye.